Welcome VeloTour fans and players to the Ronde van Vlaanderen, also known as the Tour of Flanders. This might be the hardest race on the calendar this season, and we should see things get blown to pieces in the last 50 or so kilometers. We're picking it up a really long way from the finish today because a very dangerous move has just gone off the peloton. 3 riders from Kelme have joined that chase group, and we also have the 5 leaders out here. So Dmitry Konishev, Thierry Marie, Jamaldine Abdu-Japarov, Alessandro De Marchi, and Henri Anglade. They were the 5 early attackers. They are around 50 seconds ahead of a chase group, which includes Rudy Altig, Vyacheslav Ekimov, and Rudy Donens, all of the Kelme team. And you can see that group gaining ground. On this cobbled climb, the Eau de Clermont, they will join the leaders. So a group of 11 at the front. Henny Kuiper also in that chase group that just came up, and Sylvain Chavanel there as well, and Roger de Kock of Bianchi. So Abdu-Japarov is dropped. So is De Marchi and de Kock. They might be able to get back on, depends on the pace at the front. But this is a very strong group at the front of the bike race, and I think the peloton will have a quite hard time pulling them back in the end. So this could be a big opportunity for Kelme to produce in the one-day races. The best race of the season was Paris-Nice when they went for the general classification with Bjarne Riis, and they came out on top. But in the one-day races where they seem to have some intriguing potential, it hasn't quite come together yet, but this could be the race where that all changes. 3 of their strongest classics riders are off the front. Around 1 minute 40 seconds behind is the main field, and it's been split up by that climb of the Clermont. 16 riders together. I think it'll swell up a little bit over the next few kilometers. It's a group behind the peloton, led by Julien Alaphilippe, Khrushchev, and Vervaca also there. The big favorites for this race, you have to start with Jan Raas and Gianluca Bortolami for Fiat and Bianchi-Campagnolo. They have been the 2 top classics riders this season, and this race very well suited for each of them, so I'd expect them to be there right at the end. And there's also the Evian duo of Marc Madiot and Gilbert Duclos-Lassalle. They're both in this group, and they should figure amongst the leaders as well. So those are the big men in the main field. We should expect them to attack in the later stages of the race. But a long way from that, 127 kilometers to go. So a few more obstacles, and then in around 30 kilometers time after the Muur-Kapelmuur, there'll be a bit of an interlude with some mostly rolling terrain, and then we get into that sting finale of the race. 2 passages of the Clermont and the Paterberg, and that will cause a major sort out amongst the leaders. Jan Kursipu still in this peloton of 17 for Adidas. Their leader today, likely Francis Pellissier. They also have Thierry Marie in the front group. Adidas looking to score significant points to get out of last place. In Ceramikas, you have Dmitry Konishev at the front of the race. I wouldn't be surprised if outside of Konishev they got absolutely nothing out of today, because the cobblestones are a huge team weakness. Entirely possible they get no points today, which would be a bit of a letdown, but not too unexpected. The front group of 10 working well together. So all the Kelme riders are taking their turns at the front, so very interested in using their team resources and maintaining this advantage. Sometimes when a team leader gets up in the breakaway, he won't do any work and put it all on his teammates who are in the group with him. Not the case here, so Kelme riding as a team, and that's great to see. Should help them in the later stages of the race, working together. Evian and Fiat, they're the teams that missed out on this move, so they'll be forced to work at the front of the race. Perhaps using up their men earlier than they would like. That's Jan Adriaansens, who's had a very quiet season so far. I expect him to be up in the top 10 of a race at some point by now, but he hasn't done it yet. And then there's Jan Raas, the winner of the Omloop Het Nieuwsblad. The Ronde van Vlaanderen is similar to the Omloop. In fact, it goes over a few of the same cobbled climbs, but it's much harder and even better suited for Raas than the Omloop was. This is the third group on the road that we just saw. That included George Hincapie of Fiat, so that team would certainly love Hincapie to get back towards the front of the race. We also saw Jerry Kniedeman for La Victoire. La Victoire, they have Felicien Vervaeke and Fons de Wolf, who I think are both in that third group, just over 2 minutes behind this group right here. Riders who could find themselves in the top 10 at the end of the stage, but I don't think they'll be fighting for the victory. There's Henny Kuiper. We talked before on the broadcast about him being the glue of that Bianchi-Campagnolo team. A capable leader and an invaluable domestique to the likes of Bortolami and Stan Åkers. Has a great chance to get a good result today being up in this strong group. And the man who's really profiting from this situation is Gianluca Bortolami, who is in the peloton at 1 minute 12 seconds back at the moment. His rival teams Fiat and Evian have to do all of the chasing because Bortolami's team, Bianchi-Campagnolo, they have 2 riders in this front group. So with a teammate up the road, Bortolami does not have to chase. He can follow the wheels all the way to the finish or until he feels like he can make his move. So things playing out very well for Bianchi and Kelme as well, having their strongest spin in the break. There's Konishev on the back of this breakaway. Not known for his prowess on the cobbles, but he's still here. He will stay with this group as long as he can for Ceramikas. Coming up to the near Capelmuur. Steep cobble climb. This is where Jan Raas launched his decisive attack in the Omloop, but this passage coming a lot further from the finish. De Kock leading the way for Bianchi. Let's see what the situation is behind. It's Baffy for Fiat. This gap to the breakaway, it probably will never get above 2 minutes throughout the race, but in the classic as hard as this one, and with so many strong riders in that group, this might be all the advantage they need to stay away into the finale of the race. So we get a notification for a flat tire, Alexander Gonchenkov of the Bianchi team. As a reminder, crashes are off, but of course there's no way to turn off the flat tires, and on cobbled sectors, they are much more likely to happen. So entirely possible that a rider in a winning position gets a flat tire to ruin his day. We hope we don't see that. But in Pro Cycling Manager, stranger things have happened. After that passage of the Capelmuur, we've seen more splits. Just taking inventory of who's here. Raas and Fiat are there. Kelme still have riders in this peloton, and the Evian boys, they're chasing back on. So it seems they weren't in great position on the Capelmuur, and they have to expend Marc Madiot, one of their leaders, to bring Duclos-Lassalle back to the front. And there's 3 more Evian riders. Right there, Schleck, Stibar, and Adriaansens. They are cooked. They have had to do a lot of work today, and it's really a shame for Evian to lose 3 strong riders so early in the race. So it's all going to come down to Madiot and Duclos-Lassalle to bring home a really good result for the team. Here's Thierry Marie. Had a good ride in Gent-Wevelgem. Was up in 7th place. So after those splits on the Capelmuur, things have come together. 23 riders still up the front. There's a group of 6 around 50 seconds behind. And if you like to keep track of the time gaps on your own, you can see at the bottom of the screen, you can see the groups. So the P23, that's this group of 23 in the peloton. And you can see that they're 1 minute 17 behind the 10 leaders at the moment. That's the E1 group, the E meaning the escapees. And A1 is a group behind the peloton. The A, I presume, stands for arrière, which in French means the rear. So a couple riders just dangling off the back of the peloton. This is the flatter or rolling section of the course. No cobblestones at this point, so a chance for the peloton to organize and break away. They'll have to work hard to maintain the advantage. It's a lot easier to stay off the front when you have hills and twists, turns, and cobblestones and narrow roads. It's much harder for the peloton to organize in those conditions. So you come up to a hill, fairly steep one too. Rudy Donnens for Kelme, who's likely of domestique for Altig and Ekimob today in this group. He's in a very strong ally in the classics for that team this season, and a very smart draft choice, quite complimentary of Ekimob and Altig. Interested to see how they use him later in the race. It's the back of the peloton. Sio Guimar. A bit too many cobblestones for someone like him to win today. But he will be one to watch in Tirreno Adriatico, the next stage race that comes after Paris-Roubaix. Such a great all-rounder. And in those reduced group sprints after a hilly or mountainous stage, I really don't see anyone being faster than Sio Guimar. Thierry Marie is the only rider of his team in this breakaway, still happy to do work. 63 kilometers now to go, and we're entering the finale of the race. So we're approaching the second passage of the Eau de Quermont, coming up in around 5 kilometers time. So I imagine we'll see a big attack coming out of the peloton on that climb. Raas, Bortolami, and Duclos-Lassalle, they will have to make their move if they hope to bridge across to this group. So Marc Madiot, he is riding hard at the front, so looking to set it up for Duclos-Lassalle. So Madiot sacrificing his own chances for his teammate. Things have not gone to plan for Evian today, and now they're putting everything onto Duclos-Lassalle. Here we go onto the Quermont. It's Kuiper leading the way. Now let's see if we get an attack out of the peloton here. It's Fiat, he's taking control at the bottom of the climb. Where is Jan Raas? That has to be Jan Raas, the one launching the attack right there. The most dangerous rider in this race is Jan Raas. He's taken the Evian boys with him. So Raas, he has decided that now is the time to make his move and to bring back this break. Well, Ockers for Bianchi had just started the chase and then got a flat tire, so that is a very unfortunate development for him. Bianchi very interested in bringing back these 3 riders because Bortolami is still in the peloton, so even though Henny Kuiper is in front, still need to keep their options open. So Bortolami and his team need to bring back the Evian riders and Raas. Here's the Paterberg, very, very steep hill. Madiot still hammering away at the front. They formed a gap over the rest of the chasing peloton, but not a huge one. I think they could come back. Jens Voigt of Adidas. It's likely Falsi's Pelissier on his wheel. And I think I saw Bortolami just behind them. So Madiot leaving nothing in the tank for this move, but I don't think it'll be too profitable for him and Duclos-Lassalle because that chase is not far behind. And meanwhile, at the front, Kuiper has attacked. He's taken Marie with him. Heading up to another steep climb, the Koppenberg. It's also cobbled. Kuiper, perhaps sensing danger in the peloton behind. He knows that riders are trying to bridge the gap. And the breakaway rider is starting to fall away. It's Onglad struggling to hold the wheel. Konishev has already been dropped. Chabanel and Marie as well, so they can't hold the pace any longer. It's the three Kelme riders and Kuiper, they look the strongest. So Rudy Donens, Rudy Altig, Vyacheslav Ekimov, Henny Kuiper, and a very tired Thierry Marie trying to hang on. These are the survivors of the early breakaways. And Marie has gone, so there's 4 left. So lots of short cobbled sectors and twists and turns. There's still the Kreuzberg coming up in around 10 kilometers time, and then the final passage of the Eau de Quermont and the Paterberg. And that should cause the final selection for the end of the race. So Chabanel swept up by the chasers. A very select group of 13, and I think it'll get smaller in a bit. So Madiot, Raas, Duclos-Lassalle, Vervaca, Plancart still there, Bortolami also still there. So you can see Raas has to do work as he's the last of his team, still at the sharp end of the race, and Bortolami, who still has a teammate for company, I would imagine that's Roger de Kock, who was dropped from the breakaway. Bortolami doesn't have to do any of the work, so he could be the freshest at the sharp end of the race on the final climbs. Kelme riders still working well together. I don't think Henny Kuiper will help them out much anymore. He knows his team leader is in the group behind. And of course Kelme have 3 men, and he is all alone. So I imagine he might just sit on the back of this group and see how long he can stay there, and if Bortolami comes up from behind, then he will start riding to assist him. So we're on the bottom of the Kreuzberg. 1 minute 29 is the gap to the group of 8 riders. That group of 8 includes the 2 Evian riders, Jan Raas, Eddie Plancart, Francis Pellissier, Gianluca Bortolami, and one of the La Viclaire riders, which I think is Felicien Vervaca, and also Etienne de Wilde, so he's the other Bianchi rider. He's having a great race too. Not someone I would have predicted to be here at this advanced stage, and there's Raas. So Raas has attacked, trying to break this group up, draw out the strongest riders to help him chase down the break. So Raas not hesitating to put himself on the front, and one of the Evian riders is dropped, which I assume would be Marc Madiot. So Madiot is spent, and it's all up to Duclos-Lassalle. We get another attack. That is Francis Pellissier, and Bortolami's gone with him, so Raas has to chase this down, and Duclos-Lassalle caught flat-footed. He's not caught one of the wheels, and he'll have to work himself to bring these attackers back. So a surprise move from Pellissier, which draws out Bortolami, and some dangerous riders now trying to bridge the gap, and Donens has been sent up the road by Kelme. So Kelme looking to use their numbers advantage. They've sent Rudy Donens, their 3rd choice rider in a race like this, up the road. They're hoping to force Henny Kuiper to chase him down, but he is not really obliged. So Ekimov and Altig still riding hard behind. And you see Jan Raas, he's very quickly catching up to this group. So Raas, Pellissier, Bortolami, and Duclos-Lassalle, they've all got back to these attackers. So with 18 Ks to go, a group of around 7 or 8 has reformed at the front of the race. Someone has been dropped. I think Pellissier is the one who was dropped, so he cannot hold the wheel of Jan Raas after that attack. And now you see Kuiper riding for Bortolami. His teammate has come up from behind, and we get another attack from Kelme. They're not done yet at the front of the race. So leading over the Paterberg is the Kelme riders, and it's Ekimov who is forcing the selection here. He's dropped 2 of his own teammates, so Altig and Donens. They're cooked, and this looks like the final selection for the Ronde van Vlaanderen. 12Ks to go. It's Ekimov, Jan Raas, Gianluca Bortolami, and Gilbert Duclos-Lassalle. The winner of this race will be one of these four. Bortolami surely has to be the freshest for what his team have set him up for, and Bortolami is going to attack. He's trying to take advantage of his tired rivals, and no one has been able to get on his wheel for this move. So under 10Ks to go, it's Bortolami who's gone off the front, looking to finish this off all alone. He's fast in a sprint, but he does not want to bring Jan Raas to the finish, because Raas, he's a proven sprinter. He has results this season in those reduced sprints. So Bortolami looking to take his chance for Bianchi. They could still bring him back, but there needs to be a greater sense of urgency among these three, and I don't think we're going to get it. Duclos-Lassalle forced on the front by Ekimov, who's been off the front nearly all day. Jan Raas, who's done a lot of work in these last 60 or so Ks. So I don't think anyone has the legs to get back to Gianluca Bortolami. The gap is out to 37 seconds. So it's going to be a sprint for second place in Bortolami. His team, a masterful performance today, putting riders up off the front of the race, forcing other teams to work, and their strongman, Gianluca Bortolami, gets his second classic win of the season. Chapeau to Bortolami. It's Ekimov who sprints for second, Raas will get third, Duclos-Lassalle in fourth. Rudi Altig, an excellent performance by him today. He will get in fifth, and I think Donens will get sixth. So the rest of the stragglers coming through. Some big time gaps here, so the race really exploding right towards the end. There's Marc Madiot, who worked so hard today. Evian, just things didn't really go their way, and Duclos-Lassalle, their leader, only gets up to fourth place. Did not have the legs to follow Gianluca Bortolami in the end. Chris Bourne will bring up the rear. He's quite a long ways back, so we'll go ahead and cut to the results. So there's your replay of Gianluca Bortolami, the Italian leader for Bianchi-Campagnolo. A great win in the Tour of Flanders. Tremendous showing by his team today. So it's Gianluca Bortolami. His team are going to score a lot of points today. He wins 20 seconds ahead of Vyacheslav Ekimov in second, Jan Raas third, Gilbert Duclos-Lassalle fourth for Evian. So those were the four survivors at the sharp end of the race. The early attackers, Rudi Altig, Rudi Donens, and Henny Kuiper, 5th, 6th, and 7th. So Kelme, a great race today. They had 3 of the top 6. Felicien Vervaeke gets 8th for La Viclaire, Pelissier 9th for Adidas, and Eddie Poncart 10th place for Zulu Kingdom. Not a bad result for him in this race, all things considered. Marc Madiot back in 12th, perhaps could have ridden himself into the top 5 today if he wasn't working for his leader, Duclos-Lassalle. So that was a race full of intrigue, whether the breakaway would take it or if the favorites behind would come back and take it away from them. Some great drama today. Our next race is Paris-Roubaix, another very demanding cobbled race. We'll see you then.